Chris, I don't have a clue. What is it?
Yeah, this is a concept car from the 1950s. It's the 55 Mercury D528. And you're very right that you wouldn't recognize this car. And as the name kind of insinuates, this was an engineering test mule. So it wasn't a car that was really brought out to the public. You know, you didn't go to the Detroit Auto Show and see this car. But the engineers tried a lot of interesting feats in this car. First of all, look at the size of this. This is the biggest all fiberglass car that Ford had put together at this point. But what they were really testing out not only was fiberglass, but it was also air conditioning and structural engineering. If you notice, the roof line is very swoopy, but it's a full hardtop, meaning there are no pillars. There's no A pillar, there's no B pillar, there's nothing. It's just a cantilevered roof. The car, because it's made out of fiberglass, and fiberglass never stops shrinking, over time it wanted to pop that windshield out because there's so much stress on that. So at a later date, somebody added these little aluminum struts in there to hold it up. But essentially, it's a full cantilevered roof. They tried out a couple other feats of engineering. You know, the air conditioning units were huge in a 50s car, if you even had air conditioning in the 50s. And they took up a lot of space in the trunks. And believe it or not, no matter how big the trunks are, they weren't quite big enough back then, I guess. So Ford wanted to try out some different packaging. So first of all, they, instead of having those giant clear ducts inside the car, they actually ran the air conditioning up through a hollow cross section in this panel right here, and then the air would come out of perforated holes in the headliner. Oh. So it would kind of rain air conditioning down on you. And then the back end of the car has these kind of crazy looking humps. And these are actually to house the gas tank and the spare tire. In fact, you can see the spare tire still in the car. And it gave them a little bit more trunk space in the middle of the trunk. So they tried out a lot of different engineering on this car, and you know, eventually they were done with it and didn't need it anymore. So they ended up selling this car to George Barris, famed Hollywood customizer, a guy you guys have featured on the show several times, and he bought this car at the same time that he bought the Lincoln Futura that became the Batmobile. Okay. This car didn't gain quite the same kind of fame, but it did have a Hollywood history. It was renamed the Beldone and painted a different color, and was in a Jerry Lewis movie called The Patsy. And then it was also used in the Outer Limits TV series.
And what year was this built?
1955.
55. And the breezeway window on the back?
Yeah, it even has what was known as a breezeway window when it was finally sold on Lincolns and Mercurys. But it's a reverse slanting window that electrically lowers behind the seat. And the thought was that you could just crack open the vent windows and you could smoke your cigarettes, and the smoke would just go out the back of the car on a rainy day instead of filling the car up.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most interesting design cues on it, and also one that's like, I guess that was a good idea.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, especially when you notice where the wheel is on the side of the car, and that the hump is behind that. You expect that to be over top of it. So the proportions are a little odd, but it's certainly an interesting car.
It absolutely is.